Hello my creative friends, thank you for stopping by to watch my video. I'm Julia Henze, urban sketcher based in the Netherlands. I'm also the founder of Brave Brushes Studio, a membership for artists and urban sketchers. If you've ever seen my videos or done my classes, you know that I teach with enthusiasm and joy. So, the title of today's video is a bit unusual. The worst watercolor mistakes ever. This topic was born out of kind of frustration. I see a lot of beginning artists make these mistakes every single day. But as always, I'll show you a simple way to avoid them, and I'll do it with joy. Remember that mistakes are a part of the learning process, and take it easy. Don't blame yourself for making them, and don't worry if you fall right back into your old patterns. Every new habit needs some time to become a habit. Okay, let's take a look. But before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Okay, so here we go. On this side I will show you the mistake, and on this side I will show you the solution. Mistake number one, your brush is too small. And when I say small, I mean like size 4, for example, not just your tiniest brush. And I want you to understand that it's very difficult to paint a large area evenly with a small brush. And as a result, your washes look untidy with wide gaps that you try to cover with paint, and it doesn't really look good. So let me show you what I mean. So I grab some paint like this, and as you can see, it's quite a large area here. And I try to, well, maybe a little bit. I try to paint to cover the whole area, and as you can see, it's very difficult to do it because the brush is very small and it holds just a little water that you actually need to paint. So, and then you try to paint like this, and you need to come back to your paint very often. And as you can see, some of the parts are not colored at all. I just can't cover them at once. And it's very, very uneven, as you can see. I try to make it as even as possible, but it's just impossible with a small brush like this. So I get back to the white parts, and as you can see, the wash is uneven and not very beautiful. Here is how you can avoid this mistake. Take at least a size 10 brush for areas like this, or even larger one like 12 or 14, maybe even 16, or larger when you paint, for example, the sky in your urban sketches or any other sketches, landscapes, for example. Okay, let's see how much easier that is. You can see here that I can make a larger pool of water on my palette because the brush is much larger and it holds much more water in its belly. I can paint a very even wash. It's so much easier to do. And it looks much better. Okay, can you see the difference? I think it's very obvious. And I can remove this dark paint here, and then it will be even more beautiful. However, I actually love when this drip at the end of at the bottom of the wash is a little bit darker. It creates a very beautiful look. But the wash is quite even. That's the most important thing. Okay, so mistake number 2. Using a large brush, but not loading it with enough paint and enough water. And this usually happens when you only dip the tip of your brush into the paint and paint with the tip only. The effect is the same as when you're using a small brush. Let's take a look. So I have here some paint, and I don't load my brush with enough water, and there is not that much paint in the brush. Let's try to paint this area then. So you only have paint on the tip of your brush, so what is happening then is that you paint with only the brush tip. And it's very difficult to do this. Because you cover just a very small area every time, and you can see that I run out of the paint quite quickly. And again, it's very uneven. The wash is not beautiful. Again, I get back to the white spots because I want to get it beautiful, but instead it gets even uglier. Okay, so once again, this is what happens when you load your brush with not enough paint, with not enough water, and paint with only the tip of the brush. I see it very often, really very often by beginning artists. So what we do instead, we load the brush, let me show you, with water. So entirely touch the bottom to make sure your brush is very saturated with water, and then get back to your palette, or maybe you just started to make a mixture on your palette, and load your brush very well. Make it very saturated with paint, it with water. As you can see, it has a very lovely full belly now. And now we can start painting. And it's easier if I do it like this. So now you put your brush on the paper and You have enough water, you have enough paint. If you want to make it darker, you can grab even more paint. Let's do that. But again, load it with all this paint and all this water. And not only the tip of the brush, but also the belly. And put your brush like this. Press a little bit on your brush, so that the water and the paint get out the brush like this. So I think that's a good wash. A little bit uneven because I started with a lighter wash and ended with a darker one, and the difference between the tone is a little bit too big. But the parts, both parts are quite even. Okay, mistake number 3. Let me show you. Mistake number 3 is putting your paper flat on your desk, not tilting it. As a result, the paint does not flow down your sheet of paper, pulls in the wrong places, especially if your paper is thinner. You start to move your paper around to get it spread evenly, and in the end, it doesn't look well. Okay, anyways, just let's take a look. Okay, something very funny has just happened, because somehow this wash turned out perfectly. And I think it's because the quality and the thickness of my paper. This paper is very thick, so I took another thinner paper to show you how it usually looks when you paint on a flat surface. But I also wanted to share the previous one so that you know that it's not always a disaster with the washes like this. This is a flat wash, but it will be really different with a graded wash. The graded wash will look much worse, even on the thicker paper. And this is how it looks on the thinner paper when the washes are completely dry. Quite messy, right? And now let's take a look at the graded wash for the whole picture. This one also looks a bit messy, and especially when it dries, it looks not very smooth, right? And even putting a roll of masking tape to create this slide tail is a good way out. And I often use this very simple IKEA laptop holder, or sometimes just a small box to tilt my paper, and it works quite great. So let's take a look at how much smoother the next wash will look with the tilted paper. And a very quick note about the graded washes. These are the washes that we usually use for painting skies, for example. So it's not a very unusual wash. This is something that you really need to master. to create beautiful sketches. Okay, maybe not perfect, but much and much better. Alright, did you pass the test or are you making these same mistakes? Let me know in the comments. Remembering these 3 rules will definitely make your wash smoother and your sketches more attractive. These were the most obvious mistakes that almost every beginner makes. Mistakes are a part of the learning process, but some mistakes can be avoided right from the start. I can help you to do that. Join Brave Brushes Studio to learn all my tips and tricks. Go to bravebrushes.com to sign up. Thanks for watching. If you like my free content, please consider supporting me and my team by buying us a coffee. Follow the link in the description. See you next week.